Okay. Yeah. Lady Wolf Pack on a whole nother level. Savage as they come, gang of female rebel. We got the sharpest claws, we got the whitest teeth. We coming for your lunch, but we only bring the heat.
Hey y'all, I'm Cassidy, the favorite daughter, obviously.
And I'm Kim, her mom, her match, and the real reason she turned out halfway decent.
Welcome to Mom's Favorite, the podcast where we laugh, vent, and overshare like it's our full-time job.
Yeah. And we're coming straight to you from Austin, Texas, where the queso's hot, the opinions are hotter, and we don't sugarcoat a damn thing.
You know, just think of us as Thelma and Louise, but only they're related and they have a podcast instead of a death wish.
So go ahead and pour yourself something strong, maybe a margarita, get a little snack.
Because here on Mom's Favorite, we got a lot to unpack.
Hey, MFers, Kim here. Welcome back to Mom's Favorite. Buckle up because today I'm interviewing one of mine and Egon's longest running friends, professional instigator, part-time philosopher, and full-time chaos coordinator, Mr. Steve FOHL. Now, Steve has lived approximately 47 lifetimes in one human body. We're talking small-town beginnings, questionable life choices, a divorce that was not so pretty, navigating life as a single dad to an autistic son, and somehow finding love again, which frankly feels suspicious. There will be sarcasm, oversharing, and maybe some mild emotional damage. But underneath the snark, this is actually a story about resilience, fatherhood, and what happens when life drop kicks you and you decide to get back up anyway. So grab your emotional support beverage and let's get into it. So I am so happy to have the opportunity to sit down with one of our best friends, actually Egon's best friend, and so I'll say our best friends, Steve FOHL, and he's agreed to graciously sit with me and let me ask him pretty much anything. And you know me, I'm going to go deep and dirty and find out all the juicy scoop and details. But seriously, Steve is a huge part of our lives. Basically, we're kind of family, don't you think?
Absolutely. I consider you guys family as much as I consider my own family.
Yeah. I love that. Before we dive into, you and everything, I kind of want to talk about like sort of how we met and everything and how our families came together. And I thought about it, and I actually thought about it with Shelly because I knew it was right around the same time because Shelly introduced us. And so it would have to be 2010. And I know it was 2010 for a couple of reasons. 2010 was when I lost my mom. And one of the first memories I have of you is I was up with my mom. My mom had just passed, and you and Egon drove up to Temple. I don't know for what, to pick me up, or I don't remember, or to pick up stuff or whatever. But you came up, and I really literally, we didn't know each other that well. We had literally only known each other maybe a few months or so.
That was really my first interview with you, was driving along in the car. And I remember you asking me all these questions, and we got to the property that backs to the park with the basketball court in Temple, right? Mm-hmm. I remember that clear as a bell. And we were going up there to walk through it and to decide, you were trying to decide whether to sell it or rent it. And what you were going to do that way. Man, I remember that day like it was yesterday. I can't believe that was 16 years ago.
I know. Actually, it was longer than 16 years ago.
Unbelievable.
Well, think about it, because if that was in 2010...
it's 2026.
And so how do the math on that?
16 years.
Actually, I think it was a little bit longer than that.
Probably. I got here in 2008. I met Adrian in 2009.
Yeah.
at FOHL Disclosure that night. And then Adrian and Shelly and I went to lunch that following Monday. And then Adrian said to me, man, you know what would be cool is if you want to grab your kids, I'm in this camping group with my close friend Egon, and it's the YMCA camp group, and we have the special needs kids, and they always put us in a great spot in the campground. We're kind of by ourselves. We do a lot of group stuff with them. So I went on that first one with Shelby, and I have a picture holding Shelby with one arm. She's so small. She's probably 5 or maybe 6, but probably 5 years old. And we go on that very first YMCA camping trip, and that is where I meet Egon.
That is not, I don't know if that's where you met Egon.
It's where Egon and I very first spent a lot of time around each other.
Because here, let me tell you this story, because I thought of this story, and you might not remember this. I remember exactly when I first met y'all, your whole family. Because the first time I met you, was at Granite Ranch.
Granite Ranch.
And you might have met Egon before that. I don't know. Maybe that was just the first time I had met you. But I remember that was the first time I met you, Lourdes, and the kids. And I think Shelby was maybe 6 or 5, and then Logan was like 2, maybe. He was like a baby.
Still a little, practically a baby. Yeah,
practically a baby. And remember, the Webbers were there, and their little kids. I mean, remember Mia,
Corey, and Mia.
Mia, how tiny she was.
She still is that tiny. It's crazy.
And Corey and who else? Oh, the Flintons were also there.
Paul and Jennifer.
And so that was the first time I remember meeting y'all. And I remember thinking, wow. First of all, my first thought was, your wife was so beautiful. And so she just was like one of these, I mean, she looked like a model. Like, she's just beautiful, beautiful skin, beautiful hair, beautiful body, and she was a great mom. From what we could see, she was very attentive, agree. And I thought she was very, very, very sweet. And from all intents and purposes, we were kind of friendly. I don't think we were close. We went out a couple of times, like as groups of moms where, like, hey, let's meet for lunch somewhere to try to kind of rally our groups. But I don't think any of it really stuck that close. Probably because you guys lived up in Round Rock and we were down here in South Austin. So there was that distance and whatnot. But so I remember the whole Granite Ranch, and that was my first really instinct, and the kids and everything. We had a great time. I thought that was such a fun way to sort of get to meet people. And it was really the start of our whole friendship.
That's exactly right. That's right. And because there were so many people there, that's why I consider the YMCA camping trip, that was probably within weeks of the Granite Ranch trip, the first time I really got to sit and visit with Egon, because, when there's a lot of people around, you don't exactly get that quality one-on-one time. Right. Well, on the trip with the kids, all the kids were playing together. So Adrian, Egon, and I really got to sit and get to know each other. And then, of course, the way that the evenings worked on the YMCA trips was sitting around the campfire after the kids would go to sleep, was the first indoctrination into the small batch bourbon tasting in the evening. And then, of course, the real truth starts coming out about everything, and where we came from in life and all of that good stuff. I just
had a brilliant idea sitting here talking to you about this. It's like, we need to have the three of you guys on here and to get the real inside scoop about what went on and the campouts, because I don't think we really know all of the all.
Oh, that is for sure. And there was some stuff that probably even you, and sitting in that interview as the interviewer, would be like, wait, what? And of course, we wouldn't want to get Egon in trouble for anything that came out of the, and then this happened. Oh, and then, one time Jake jumped off a cliff and all that kind of stuff. Shelby swimming in the water with the water moccasin. She's like, Dad, a snake. And it's like, oh my God, get away from that.
Shelby, I don't worry about Shelby. I worry about you. Remember the time you went up to the Western Diamondback Rattler and we're trying to take a selfie with it?
oh, and Marco was crying, and Mr. Fool, please get away from. I was like, dude, it can't strike backwards. And I touched its tail, and he threw a fit. He got really upset. And you go, but to me, part of it is just love of nature and knowing nature and going, man, I know not to FAFO when it comes to stuff like that. I certainly wasn't trying to pet its head. You know, it was coming up behind it. And plus it distracted it away from everybody else so that they could walk down the trail because everybody was afraid to walk by it and it was going to be the end of the hike.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. I mean, those stories are classic. I'm so happy that you guys had those things to really learn from and grow from. And I think your friendships all grew, and it was great it was great bonding with the kids, and I love it.
You know how many total camping trips we went on?
Somebody told me, but I forgot.
63.
Really?
63 that I went on with my kids, mostly Shelby because Lourdes wouldn't allow Logan to go. But he got to go on 3. And then we went on separate camping trips where he got to come. And then, but the total for me with my children was 63. And
That's
Egon
amazing.
and Adrian have gone on more than that because, James Willoughby was a
Yeah.
part of it long before I ever came along. And I think Egon was the first one to join it with Jake before it was called Adventure Guides even.
Yeah, and we started from our neighbor that lived right over on the corner over here. His son, they had 2 boys, and they were actually the ones that told me about the YMCA and Adventure Guides. And Jake and them joined their tribe. And they weren't special needs. Well, actually, they were special needs. They were undiagnosed special needs. But,
Sure.
But anyway, they joined that tribe. And then I think it morphed into y'all's group very shortly. I don't think either they ran them off or their kids kind of were a little bit older too. So.
Yeah. Well, a lot of kids aged out during my time in it as well. I mean, Hayden and Shelby aged out. And that was when I brought Logan on those last couple. And then it kind of went south with Adventure Guides. And that was even before COVID. And that was when Adrian and Egon would say to me, let's get our own camping trips together. And so we would do our own things when I had the motor home and when we would go on those great trips to either Enchanted Rock or to what's the one that's right over there by Roy Kaiser and Jimmy Clay, McKinney Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always just had the best time together. You would swear being around us that we're brothers, me, Adrian, and Egon. We always get along great. There's never any issues. And if even a little ripple arrives, we're always so quick to iron it out.
Yeah.
And that is why our friendship runs as strong as it does today. They're also concerned about, and I'm sure we'll get to that. I'm sure that's part of your questions in the podcast is, living arrangements for me going forward. And you go there, I know they're both concerned about what's going to happen here going forward in the future. And you go, concerned as brothers would be, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing. You want people to be you want people to ask you questions. If I say to you, well, how's this going to work, and trying to bring up something, I'm not bringing that up to be negative, and I'm not. I know it sounds like I might be, but I'm only because I care about you. If I didn't care, I'd just say, well, that's great, and walk off. But everybody worries about their loved ones and people that they care about. And there's so much crazy weirdness out into this world. You would just be remiss as a friend if you didn't ask questions. I'm sorry, you just would be.
I think
and
that's 100%
that's the
correct.
kind of friend you get with me and Shelly, and we're just not going to sit here and just be like, that's great. Those are people that are not in our inner circle. Those are acquaintances that we're like, you do you, but we care about you. And it would be the same thing if it was, Adrian doing something or anybody doing a big thing or Egon or whatever. You should ask questions. You should be watching out for your friends and taking care of them.
I agree 100%. As a matter of fact, when I think back on my relationship with you and Shelly, people like Jennifer Flinton, who I will always consider a dear friend, I think to times where I called crying. I didn't know how to enroll Logan in school, and his mom was long gone, and there was no help. And I had never handled that sector of life before. The division of labor was I'll earn all the money and pay all the bills and
Right.
that kind of thing. And then it was she'll manage the household. And you go, so one day the household management gets dumped on you in addition to all of your other duties. And I would have never made it without you guys. Look, you introduced me to Daymark. And where does my son live today?
Daymark.
Exactly right. And you go, so not only do I ask for your help, I listen to the advice and weigh it out for myself. And when I went and saw Daymark, it was like, holy cow, this is perfect for him. And it's worked out fantastically. He's in month number 8 now.
That's amazing. I'm so happy because I think it's a good thing anytime you can find a good, safe environment for our kids, because it's not easy. I know it is not easy to put them anywhere and for them to be safe and successful and happy, and to find that but I know from our own situation, I'm grateful every day for Josh and Kiki and our living situation, because without them, I don't know what we would be doing. Life would be very different. Let's just put it, that's the polite way to put it. Life would be very different.
I look at the two of us today and I think back to the times where I looked at you, and I'm sure there were times where you looked at me, and we looked like Bill the cat, that cartoon cat that looks like it stuck its finger in a light socket.
Yeah.
And you go, man, it was beyond hard. I don't even know what the right words are for it. It was so beyond hard. The abandonment for lack of a better word.
So let's kind of talk about, so everybody knows kind of what we're talking about is, so you were married to Lourdes, and Lourdes, the beautiful woman, but beauty is skin deep. But anyway, right. You were married to Lourdes, and y'all came to the Austin area basically for CARD, right? Which is the Autism Center. For like Johnson, was it Johnson Clinic or Johnson Center? That's taking exactly Logan right. for autism support and help, and they were pretty much renowned for the place to go, and y'all chose Austin.
Correct.
To move. Okay.
Correct.
So you were in Austin, and from the get-go, and I'm going to be honest. From the get-go, I was like, there's a lot of cracks in this marriage, because, and I'm saying that from the outside of being very judgmental looking in, but I could just see that there was just this thing here where I just thought you and her were not gonna make it, because it was just seemed like it was just so much stress, and back to the beginning of where things kind of started crumbling. Where do you think, what was the start of it? Because from the outside, y'all look like the picture perfect family.
Sure, I can see where that would be. I look back at pictures of us as a family and think, God, what a gorgeous family. If I was just outside of my own skin looking in as a third party, I would think, what a beautiful family. And things did go very well. We met in California when I still lived in my born and raised home state. And we had the 2 kids, and then I retired and sold my house and we moved up to Seattle, Washington, lived on this great 6-acre property that was just fabulous. And things went well there right up until I had her family out for a barbecue, and her sister, who is a special needs teacher in Providence, Rhode Island, I said, Lenore, look, that Logan's doing that little happy thing with, shaking his hands, yee. And the look on her face, I was like, what? And she was like, actually, that's called stemming, and that's a precursor for autism. So I became like every dad I'd ever read about, total denial. I don't want my kid poked and prodded at. So Lourdes snuck him out to the University of Washington, where he was diagnosed by Dr. Stephen Glass with autism. And that basically, she came into my home office, tears streaming. Logan's been diagnosed with autism. And that was the beginning of the rock going through my little mirror of life of what I thought my life was going to be like with my children, what I thought my children were going to be like, and forever changed us. So we gave Washington Services a chance. And when that didn't work out after several months and the bills were $6,600 a month, so that throws retirement down the drain, we moved to Austin. And it was so wonderful to say to her, you find the best place to go. I can sell real estate anywhere. And when she came back and said it was Austin, Texas, I couldn't believe it. So I flew here, looked at 38 homes in a weekend. And guess what? I still live in one of those 38. And that was 18 years ago. And man, do I love my house and all the memories of the kids there. It was such a good move for Logan, and Shelby's very much like me, my daughter so much like me, and the fact that she's a chameleon. You could drop Shelby anywhere in the English speaking world and come back and Shelby will have friends and a life and everything going on. So she took to Austin like a fish takes to water. And with Logan, it was a little trickier, but they got the gut issues worked out at the Johnson Center. That was huge. And then he made it all the way through CARD and ABA therapy, graduated, I guess you would say. And then did well in school and graduated from Round Rock High School a couple of years ago. And then it was a really tough time, I think, after Lourdes and I were together for 16 years and then divorced. And at least she was here in the area after the divorce. But then after that time went by, after a period of time went by, one day she just decided to leave Texas. And
so what do you think was back to, you came to Austin, Logan was getting treatment. Everything was going pretty well. You were working, you were doing real estate.
That's right.
Back then, I remember, and we knew you guys. We still kind of would, hang out. We'd go to parties at the Grabies, remember, pool parties,
swim
stuff
parties,
like that.
absolutely.
And but what do you think? When did she start to change?
I would have to say probably if you're looking for a year.
I mean, when was it? What do you think it was that, like, around that time? Do you think it was the autism? Was just too stressful? Because Lord knows I can totally understand that.
Absolutely. The number one thing, if we were looking at a pie graph, I would say most of the pie would be colored autism color. It would be but a lot of that. And by the way, I'll take the lion's share of the blame for the divorce. There was no cheating. There was no nuclear lie. It was simply a marriage that had ran its course. And I handled some parts of it. I don't think so well. I handled some parts of it with alcohol, thus the greatly reduced drinking today. I learned an important lesson about alcohol and the effects on your marriage and family life. And I also learned that it seems like a fair division of labor, right? I'll go to work, I'll earn all of the money, I'll pay all of the bills, I'll plan our trips, where do you want to go? Don't worry, I'll plan everything, and that type of a deal. But the truth is, and I'm sure you can vouch for this, is my job working would come to an end. My workday would come to an end. Your job as a mother never comes to an end. And she was probably a flaw that if she were sitting right here, she would say, yep, I agree with that 100%. I made a mistake. Not accepting any help. I would frequently say, let's get someone in here to give you a break. Why don't you go to the Bay Area for the weekend? Why don't you go to Providence and see your sister for a weekend and hang out with your sister? And it was always, nope, no. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. I don't need any help.
Yeah, because I didn't get, and believe me, I didn't know. I had only just an ounce of information on, because it's not like we talked, her and I, or anything, so I had no idea. But I think that it seemed like she had it all covered. I mean, it seemed like she was doing really well with getting this, I've got this autism diagnosis, and then, I've got Shelby and this and that. From the outside looking in, it seemed that way. It seemed like her issues were kind of with you, and the fact that she didn't feel, which and I'm not saying this as an attack on you, because I feel this way about Egon too. And I think it comes with parenting a child with special needs. I don't know if there's ever a level of support where you do feel supported, because it's such an overwhelming situation to be in. And I don't think she had I think there was already some little broken things going on in her to where she just didn't have the ability to reach out to you to reach out to other people, or to maybe because I know that we did have talks with Lourdes about things. Shelly and I would sit down and say, hey, you need to get on the list, you need to do this, you need to do that. The problem is she never took the advice.
Correct.
And I think a lot of things got sort of overlooked. And for some reason, I think in her mind, she viewed those things as, well, we have money and we can afford therapy for our kid and we can afford this. So you're not thinking about 18 years down the road.
Which gets here awfully quick.
Which gets here really quick. And also, too, you don't think about what your circumstances will be 18 years down the road.
That's right.
I mean, right now we may be okay, but 18 years down the road, we may be tight. We may be hurting for money. So, but I don't think I felt like she sort of felt like you could afford whatever for Logan, and Logan would be taken care of. Whatever he would need, you would take care of it. But she seemed to be kind of resentful. And I know that you get that way. Like, I get that way with Egon too. Like, I get resentful of the fact that he can just turn it off, and that he's over there just laughing and da-da-da-da, and I'm over here with nervous diarrhea worrying about some big thing. And I know that she had talked to me a little bit about, I don't know if we're going to make it. I don't know if this and that. And then, then we had the big Bob Schneider blowout weekend.
For Green Hall, absolutely.
Which was kind of, I think, the beginning of the end, or I don't know.
I think that's right. I had called, so that you do know, I had called my mother at that point and said, Mom, I'm going to divorce Lourdes. And my mother said, I'll never forget it. And I think I mentioned to you just before the podcast started, it'll be 10 years since I lost my mom this coming Saturday, February the 7th. And she was my big grounding force in life. So I call my mother and I say, Mom, I'm going to divorce Lourdes. And she says to me, well, tell me what's wrong. And I told her, and she said, okay, I think I understand. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go and apologize, and you're going to say whatever it takes to make sure that your marriage stays together. Stephen, you have 2 young children, and this is not the time to even consider remotely anything like that. So I did what she said. I went back and I fixed it with Lourdes, even though I really didn't want to inside. I did because, number one, my mother's always given me such great sound advice. And number 2, I never, ever wanted to be the reason for that my kids came from a broken household. Mm-hmm. And so I went back and fixed it. Ironically, when you fast forward to I guess December of 2015, when I was served with divorce paperwork, walking out of my house where she had kissed me goodbye that day, and then had me served with divorce papers, said she was going to the grocery store, kissed me goodbye, walked out of the house, and it was like, wait, what? When I walked out and a little guy pulls up and I was like, are you lost? And he was like, I think so. I'm looking for 27, my address. And I said, oh, then you're not lost. You're here. And he goes, are you Steve FOHL? And I was like, yep. And as soon as I said, yep, I got that heavy feeling in my legs. I thought I was being sued by one of my tenants.
Oh, no.
And so out of the car steps this little old man, and he walks up and he hands me this big fat envelope and says, it's divorce paperwork. I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, me too. And he got back in his car and drove away. And I went in the house and I called my mother and I said, you're not going to believe this, Mom. I just got served with divorce paperwork from Lourdes. And my mom goes, oh, good. And I said, good? What happened 4 years ago, and fix it? And she said, son, your kids were younger then. And since the time that we've had that conversation, I've watched very closely, and I've watched her be almost 100% of your misery and almost 0% of your happiness, and don't do anything to fix it. You just let it run its course and don't do anything crazy or stupid. I'm sure that you're probably pretty emotional inside. This just happened. Yep, it just happened. And she's like, well, you sound pretty calm. And I was like, I am, Mom. I am totally, I'm at peace with this happening. I feel bad for the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to explain this to Shelby, our neurotypical child, and I really don't understand how Logan is going to process this whole thing. So that part was really tough. But and as you know, just based on the timeline, my mother would die during the divorce. And so where did I live when I had to rotate out of the house? At your guys' house on the lake.
At the lake house. It's the bachelor pad.
It actually...
Intermittent bachelor pad.
Boy, I wish I could say bachelor pad. It was my little fortress of solitude. Egon knows that, because the only people to ever come out there were Egon, Adrian, my sister, and then at the very, very tail end of it, it would be my first girlfriend post-divorce, and that was the extent of it. I enjoyed my own time out there, crying, laughing, remembering, and
I think you should buy
realizing.
I think you should buy the.
Is that why you really have me here?
A really good deal. So she filed for divorce.
That's
and
right.
she wanted the divorce and whatnot. So I know that there was so much drama revolving around your divorce. And it was like every day was a new day of what's going on between you guys and what's she going to do and just the craziness. And she was just really bitter. And I think starting with, so you guys had a prenup, correct?
That's correct.
Which was probably smart on your part. I mean...
Yes, until my attorney, who was a very sophisticated attorney from downtown Austin, by the name of Aaron Ezell, showed me what he would do to punch holes in my prenuptial agreement had he been on the other side. Things like, let me give you for example. For example, he said, well, man, you did a great job of listing all of your assets. How much were all of those worth? And I was like, well, geez, I don't know. Are you talking about like today's value or yesteryear's value? And he was like, see, right there. See, now if I'm her attorney, I'm saying to the judge in court, I didn't know what I was signing away. I didn't know I was signing away millions. I didn't know what I was signing. And you go, so automatically, she's going to have a leg up on you right there. Mm-hmm. And so when she came and said, I'm not honoring the prenuptial agreement, which I thought was very fair to her, she, that incensed me. On the inside, I didn't have any kind of big exterior blow up or anything, but on the inside, I was really, really upset because, of course, the same person saying this isn't about money is now saying I'm not honoring the prenuptial agreement. And so in the end, I had to settle for way more than what the prenuptial agreement allotted because...
So you had to give her, I remember this, a huge chunk of money.
That's right.
And it was significant amount of money. It was a significant amount of money for her to start over, get a house, get herself situated, and figure out what she was going to do now as a single mom with 2 kids. One of them with serious, is Logan's like level 3 autism, right? Like he's the most severest of autism.
I don't know about most severe, because he's verbal.
No. But that's just, okay, like level 1, like I think even, I mean that, okay, the level 1, 2, and 3 isn't like the most severest, isn't like what you would think to be the most severest.
Correct. I would say
it can be basically someone who cannot take care of themselves on a daily basis.
That's right.
Okay, that's level 3.
Okay.
So, I don't know the whole criteria because that's kind of new. Level 1, 2, and 3. We didn't have that. We did not have that.
I'm surprised there's only 3 levels. I would think that there would be 5, and that like 3 would be middle of the road. And I would say that Logan, if I had to grade him, I would say 3.75. 5 being, you touch the child, it screams, it doesn't even really acknowledge its own parents or anything, like still wears a diaper at 15 years old, and that type of thing. With level 1 being, man, I can't even tell your child is autistic. I've met so many kids where it's like, wait, what? Your child is on the spectrum? You just don't recognize it.
Right, exactly. Because, since they combined or got rid of Asperger's, I think that now is like level 1 is Asperger's, like people that are just quirky and weird.
Correct.
That's that. And because, honestly, Jake's pretty much level 2 or 3. I don't know what he is, honestly, but he can't live alone.
Right, of course not. None of the children that I know autistically, Corey, Logan, Jimmy, Coulter, Jake, etc. None of those kids would be able to live alone. Well, they're not kids anymore, and we can tell by them being adults now that they're not capable of being able to live alone and will never be capable of living on their own.
Right. So I would love to talk about all this. What do you think about all this whole thing going on with the autism and the now, RFK is all up in. I don't want to go down this road of stuff, but I feel like now more attention is coming to stuff and people are like realizing that this is a real problem with autism, and hopefully they're going to be coming up with more solutions, like living solutions and more job solutions and more schooling solutions. Because our schooling situation was terrible. So it was okay in elementary, but past that it was like, it was kind of just basically a place to put him every day, and I don't know that he really got that much out of it. But yeah, I think all of this recent attention to autism and what is autism and who hasn't, and how come everybody has autism. That's a little touch of the tism, as we call it.
Touch of the tism. We even have our little song. Ball, 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 ball,
touch
ball,
of the
ball.
tism. Or is it that when you live with the tism, you become of one with the tism? I don't know.
That is absolutely right.
So going back to the beginning of the divorce, she got this plenty of money, which was his total gift, and she easily could go off and start her life, and everything's great. I'm sure she's living a happy life now and married and having her.
Are you talking about Lourdes?
Yeah.
Oh,
so what
no.
happened? So what happened? She got all this money.
She got all the money, and as a matter of fact, I held on to the check as I handed it to her, and she was like, let go of the check. And I couldn't let go because of the absurd amount. I couldn't let go without saying to her, I feel so compelled and obligated to say to you, please buy a house with this money. I will sell you a house and give you the commission. We can put it towards the sales price, your closing costs, etc. And her response was, I don't need your effing help. I don't want your effing help. And so what happened today, that big pile of money is long gone. It was gone in 2 years, despite the fact that I also paid $4,250 per month for years in spousal and child support. And then one day when the spousal support finally dropped off, I paid $2,500 a month for more years for both kids, despite the fact that I had them more than my percentage of time, because there was always an excuse at custody exchange. I need you to take them for longer. I need you this. I need you that. And so that part was, I thought, the worst part of all of it until the pandemic came. And during the pandemic, it was custody exchange one day at my house because there was no school. The schools had already been pretty much closed. And she came by and dropped the kids off. Well, while we're talking, they come in on the TV and say, we interrupt this broadcast. I think it was the NCAA tournament that I had on the television, and they stopped the basketball game, cleared the court, cleared the stadium, and then the news broke in and said, basically, we're shutting down America. So she starts crying, and I said, what are you crying about? And she said, well, the kids are going to be here with you, and the country's going into this lockdown thing. And Steve, I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my place to live. I'm going to lose my car. And I was like, what? I bought you a car for your birthday. You don't owe anything on your car. How are you going to lose your car? Oh, I traded it in for a lease vehicle. Yeah. Anyway, I was just like, well, man, that's kind of on you. But here, stop crying. Why don't you stay the night here up in the guest bedroom? And if everything goes well with the kids, it's Friday. If everything goes well with the kids, and everybody's happy, I know the dogs will be happy to have you back in the house. If the kids are okay with it, then why don't you stay the weekend? And if the weekend goes okay, I'll have my lawn crew go over and clear out your house, and I'll call your landlord. I know your landlord. And so she was a realtor. And I said, and I'll explain to her what's happening and with the pandemic and how, come on, a court system's going to let her out of the lease anyway. Mm-hmm. So that was exactly what we did. My crew went over, and the weekend went fine. The overnighter went fine. And I brought her back into the house, which all of my friends and family, you included.
I well remember that scenario.
Telling me how insane I was. And you go, and I agree with you guys to a certain point. But also for me, I will tell you where most people grit their teeth when they think back to the pandemic. I played 100 rounds of golf with Adrian. We went golfing almost every other day during the pandemic, and we would sit on the tailgate of his truck and watch the sunsets and drink beer after the rounds and talk about, when do we think this is all going to end? And then I would go home and I would be refreshed and feel great about, going out on hikes with the kids, going and playing at the park and doing all of this stuff. And so I felt like it was a win-win situation for everybody. The kids were happy. The dogs were happy. Lourdes was happy. I was happy. And we just stayed away from each other. It was kind of contact I went and did all the grocery shopping because she was afraid to go to the grocery store, where you would go and see people like wrapped in bubble wrap. Remember that, wearing aquariums on their head, thinking that this was somehow helping. The cashier would have the plexiglass between you and them, but then they would touch all your groceries and you would think, I'm not sure I understand any of this. And so it was such a crazy time, but it went great for about 13 months. And then she went off the deep end and one day came in and slammed her hand down on the kitchen island while I was making coffee one morning and said, I want to start having every other Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off to go do whatever I want and not tell you what I'm doing. And I'll be home on Sunday night or maybe Monday morning. Well, of course, I have my back to her and as I'm making the coffee, and I laugh because I thought she was joking. And when I turned around, she slammed her hand down on that island and said, I'm not kidding. And I said, well, then this is all coming to an end because no, that absolutely not. That's not part of what our agreement was. You're trying to rewrite a whole new agreement. So unfortunately, no. If that's the way that you feel, then you need to move out. And so that was how that ended after 13 months from, March of 2020 to June of 2021. And so she moved out and
what did she need time off for?
I have no idea.
Because at that point she wasn't working. Or was she working?
She's only worked, if you don't count Lourdes being a nanny in San Francisco, when I first met her, in our 16 years together, Lourdes only worked a grand total of 1.5 years. That was when she worked at BH2. You remember that? And when she worked at that hormonal place.
That's going to be really bad when she goes to collect her Social Security. She's not going to get...
What Social Security? She's not going to qualify for Social Security. She isn't. She doesn't have the work time in.
Oh, wow.
And anything she's doing now, she's doing off the record because the Texas State Attorney General Office is monitoring her Social Security number. If they see that come up, they will garnish her wages. She owes me over $9,000. She owes support. I made her a personal loan that the court ordered her to pay back, and she just quit on all of it. And then the big one was me hiring her away a couple years later. She calls me and tells me this is 2023. She calls and tells me, I can't afford it here. $60,000 a year as a one income half-time parent is not enough for me to be able to make a living here. I'm going to have to move back to California with my parents. So this is the middle of the night. I thought something was wrong when I saw the call come in, which was the reason I answered it. And I said to her, hey, it's late. Give me 24 hours to digest what you've said here, which included insane things, I thought, like, have you ever thought of taking your own life? She asked. And I it's the middle of the night. You woke up out of a dead sleep and you're trying to process what's happening here. Like I said to her, are you thinking, no, I'm just asking. And I was like, well, geez, that's such an unusual and kind of a dangerous question. So I told her, give me 24 hours and let me think about it and I'll come back and present a plan to you. And if it's acceptable, great. So I call her back and I tell her, or I ask her, what is the amount of money you're ending up with at the end of each paycheck? And she told me, and I said, what if I doubled that, gave you cash, you quit your job, and you come, are you ready for it? Back into the house.
Back into the house.
And you, and I'll pay you that much. I'll double what you're making at the end of each paycheck and just give it to you in cash. And I'll give it to you on the first of every single month. We'll never have to discuss it. You'll never have to ask me for it. So that was what we did. She agreed and came back into the house. Well, this time it was a little different with the kids' reaction. Shelby comes to me and says to me on like the second night, Dad, can I talk to you in your office? Sure. So we go in the office, close the door. Shelby leans in and says, the Lourdes that you think that you're getting back is not the real Lourdes. And I said, what? And first of all, I thought it unusual that she called her by name. And so I knew something was wrong between them. And she said that the Lourdes that you're getting back, this is totally fake what she's presenting to you. I think you're making a big mistake bringing her back into the house. And I said, understood and duly noted. And so during that time, I went back to kind of getting to have a life again, knowing that she was okay there, would never, ever hurt the kids. And once again, the dogs were happy. The household was okay. And
but at this point, when she's coming back into the house and
for the second time,
you're sort of paying her, well, you are paying her.
That's right.
She's basically an employee. She's
That's
basically
correct.
an employee for you, for Logan.
She signed an employment contract that I drew up. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I was just, and so on another note, was this like, y'all weren't in any kind of relationship, were you?
Never.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Just thought I would throw that in there.
No way. No. The first go round, she came into my bedroom one night and was like, for nostalgia and all that stuff. And it was just like,
sake, come here.
All right. And you go, but you know me, I am at a point in my life where I've done my rounds and I'd had my fun running through the fields, picking flowers and all of that. And I am, at that point was when I was very first entertaining. I'm not sure I'm ever going to go for another relationship again. I have my thing one and thing two in my children, and I did not see any other reason to ever be married again. And really, when I thought of it like that, well, it was kind of like playing football. When I wasn't going to play football anymore, I didn't see any reason to go to college anymore. And you go, if you have your kids and you can't really see a reason to go into another serious relationship, because why? And certainly not get married again, because why? And so that was the really the first feelings that I had that way. And so when she came back in the second time, guess what? It lasted 13 months. Stop me if you've heard that before.
Oh my goodness.
And then she went straight off the deep end, and then I had to kick her out that time.
So she really was losing it by that point, because I remember there was like a lot of crazy stuff going on. She was also, do you think she was an alcoholic pretty much?
So one day I go outside to get my garbage cans, and my next door neighbor, Brian, who I love dearly, said to me, hey, neighbor. And I said, hey, Bri, how's it going? Good. Man, that must have been some party you had the other night. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And he said, I see you took the liberty of filling up my recycle can. And I said, what? And he calls me over and I look, and there his recycle bin, which was 32 gallons, I believe, so a big one, was completely full of wine bottles. And then I said, I recognized the brand immediately, Butter Chardonnay. I go into my house and I start looking in cabinets and thinking, where was she hiding this stuff? Well, in like the laundry cabinet, bottles turned sideways.
Mm-hmm.
Kim, I went up into the cabinet to grab a couple of vases for flowers before my girlfriend came in this last trip. And I knew I had some vases up above the refrigerator in the cabinet, that you never really look in.
Yeah.
And so I opened
Till you
that
move.
cabinet, and behind the vases, there were 5 empty wine bottles. I'm still finding them years later. I'm still finding them. She had hidden them everywhere around the house. And it was insane. But at the end, I had noticed one or two, and I had said to her, start bringing me the receipts when you go to the grocery store. And on the grocery receipts, she just didn't even have the common sense to not have 5 bottles of Chardonnay on each receipt,
Yeah.
and it was just like, what are you doing with all of this wine? Oh, I'm giving him as gifts. And I was like, well, I'm buying those, for people you're giving them as gifts to. Buy those with your own money. And then it kind of stopped, but the drinking didn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was no question about it when you talk about alcoholism. And I'm sure that carries on today. I mean, I still get friends that are quote unquote mutual friends of ours that send me screenshots of her social media and in front of a big pile of pot. It's legal in California. So that she's not doing anything
Is she
illegal.
living in California?
Yes. Yep. She abandoned the kids on August 10th of 2024 and moved back with her parents, which lasted, I think, about a week. And then there have been all kinds of allegations. Her mom's wedding ring went missing and has never turned up. And of course, I think that there's you can only surmise what must have happened there, right? You had the ring your whole entire life. Your daughter comes home for a week and then the ring is gone and you go, so who knows? But just crazy stuff like that. So her parents had to ask her to leave.
She did like steal credit cards or debit cards.
That's right.
Or use things from her parents or her family members and ran them up. So I do know that she was stealing from them or something going on at the time too.
And even when she was here to speak to the craziness, kind of one last time, and we can move on after that because I was going to say it can go on and on. You show up to your daughter's graduation drunk, get in a fight with your family members because my sister and I sat far away. I went over and said hi to her family before she got there because she showed up late, showed up drunk, got in the fight, left, and never saw her daughter graduate high school. And you go, it's just, but I can name 100 events like that where you just go, man, it's really, really disheartening. And again, I don't care. I mean, really, I don't. If you were hit by a bus tomorrow, I wouldn't even think anything of it and certainly would not attend the funeral. But the sad part to me is neither would your daughter or your son.
Yeah, that's a hard part. That's really hard. And I think in this case, even though I remember Logan asking for mom, asking for mom, asking for mom, asking for mom. That is so heartbreaking. And I haven't been around Shelby, but I would imagine that, a girl needs her mom, and to grow up and not have that, or have a mom that's unstable or an addict or whatever was all going on with her. I think it was a combination of all of it. And then throw in the mix, you have a special needs child into it, and it just, because honestly, a lot of times, Steve, I question my own sanity.
Sure.
So I can understand, and I'm not condoning anything she's done, because a lot of people deal with that in way more, and they don't deal with it in the way that she dealt with it. She dealt with it in all the wrong ways, and she hurt people, and that was, and she abandoned, or she's not around for her kids now. And I just think that's just it. And it hurts me for her too, because even though I know, we don't really care about her. We don't care about what happens to her. But for Logan and for Shelby, it hurts. And it hurts me that, how did she get there? How did it get to that point? I mean, there's this beautiful woman who could have been who could have been so much. I don't think she had any drive or something, because she was well spoken. She was You know, I don't.
Educated, had a double degree. There was no, in sports, they used to say, I don't know how that player didn't make it. He had all the tools.
Yeah.
And you go, she had all the tools to be successful in life, but she wants someone to take care of her. And you go, for me, that was the program that I kind of signed up for. I'm well aware of that. I thought I had everything in life, and all that I was missing was the, I guess, the proverbial trophy wife.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about how beautiful she was, I know this makes me sound like kind of an ass. And I probably am kind of an ass, but I was going to say that I told her one time in an argument, you may be a 10 on the outside, but you're a 0 on the inside. And that equates to a 5, my dear. When you divide that by 2, that equates to about a 5. And it is too bad that you can't see that if the way that you are were words on your skin, you would be one of the ugliest people on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's very true. And it is sad how it's just kind of a wasted life, really. I hope at some point maybe she can pull it around or pull it together. I don't have a lot of faith in that. But what I do have a lot of faith in is after all of this went through, and I've known you through all of these things, and a lot of those things have been very dark times and the ups and downs of the Lourdes and the this and that. The most pain I think I saw you in was after she had left and everything finally, and it wasn't because of her leaving. It was because you were suddenly left holding the complete bag of everything. Logan, Shelby, just everything. You were left holding the bag. And having Logan really is a full-time job and someone that needs really one-to-one attention almost all the time.
That's right.
So your life drastically changed. And not only that, you're opening up this life of figuring out all these things that should have been done along the road for Logan. There's, he's not on the list. He's not on this. So many things weren't done to prepare for this time in his life. And so you're having to go back and, just scramble to get him what he needs, and figure out the learning curve. Learning what these kids need it takes years to do that. So you had to obviously step in and do the crash course of, okay, now I'm solely responsible for Logan and his care 24/7. Now what do I do? And I really saw you. I really hurt for you during that time because I could tell how scared you were.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's a great word.
Because I recognize that fear because I also wear that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I really for all of us, Shelly, Adrian, Egon, we talked about it and everything. And all of us were really trying to figure out how can we help Steve? What can we do? What resources, and I know Shelly especially was probably bombarding you with emails and texts, check this out, do this, do that. And, we really wanted to try to help as much as we could. But the bottom line is when you're in it, it's just you. It's just you and really, and Shelby was away, safely tucked away at school or in up there. And so, really it was you and Logan. And it just was I could tell it was a really bad time for you.
I was so thankful that she had gone off to college and was living her best life. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, Shelby is the very first graduate from college in our entire family tree on the full side of the family. Never in the hundreds of years of FOHLs in America has one single child graduated from college. So I was so proud of her with all that she had going on, the issues with her own mother, battling her little demons. Shelby has PTSD from being raised with Logan.
Oh, totally.
And one of my favorite stories to tell is her coming downstairs when she was younger, maybe 10 or 11, and crying. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "Daddy, because Logan is a special needs child, does that mean I'm not special? And I said, is that what you think? You come right over here and sit on my lap and let me tell you the story about being the firstborn child. So I tell her this whole elaborate story, and she runs off, smiling and happy. Thanks, Dad. And I look in the kitchen. What? And Lourdes was looking out at me, and she said, where did you hear that story before? And I said, I've never heard that story before. I just made it up because I didn't want to see her. It breaks my heart to see my kids cry.
Yeah.
And I wanted her to know that she was important as well. That no, because Logan is special needs, that does not mean that you are not special. You are super special. And so I just talked to her about, what it means to be the firstborn child and the responsibility of being the firstborn child. And I think that really carried forward in her life. She was proud to carry the torch as the first graduate in the family. She is so open. You can really talk with Shelby about almost anything. And in that way, I feel like the apple really fell next to the tree, because the same thing I told you before we sat down to do the podcast here was, Kim, you can ask me anything. My whole life is an open book. I don't do things that I'm ashamed of or embarrassed about. So I have nothing to cover up or feel, a certain way about talking about with anyone. I'm totally comfortable being asked anything. I mean, seriously, think about a question you really, really want to ask me, and we're here on a podcast. Go ahead and ask.
Well, I'm trying to think of what is it that I really want to know. I pretty much know most of your story because, like I say, we've been like family for a number of years. But I am really happy to say that you are now in a relationship with someone.
Mm-hmm.
You have met your mate, your person, and I just seeing you go from that dark place and all of the shit that happened and everything, and then now to see this light in you is so amazing, and it makes me so happy. And you more than deserve it because you have paid your price in crap. And so I feel like if anyone deserves to be happy, it's you. And so tell the story about how you met this little gem of yours.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I have to tell you, over these last several months, to hear from my own family and closest friends, we have never seen you this happy. It just makes my heart overflow. It really does.
I mean, you're practically doing pirouettes, okay?
I have to tell you,
It's almost a little disgusting how lovey, although it makes me very happy and it makes everybody happy, and we're just jealous because we don't have it.
I have to tell you, I think it's rare what she and I have. Her name is Agata, and we met on South Padre Island. Excuse me. We met on South Padre Island at the very beginning of November of last year, and I hear this cute little Russian accent behind me, and I'm leaning back watching the sunset, sipping on a Blue Moon beer with a big orange slice in it, and listening to this girl behind me talk. And her voice is intoxicating. She's so cute. I mean, I keep stealing little glances over my shoulder. And to preface even showing up there, in the 5 years I had owned my condo there at South Padre Island that I owned with my sister Pam, I had never gone out my very first night there. So we can start with that, or would you rather start with, I was supposed to be in San Diego at the Charger-Steeler game that weekend, but told my brother and sister I need a little mental break and I'm going to cancel going and I'm going to go to South Padre Island by myself. So I flew down there, and for the very first time, my truck was parked at the Harlingen Airport. So I landed, got in my truck, went and did my grocery shopping, and got there minus the 6-hour drive from Round Rock, because you flew there in 50 minutes. Your car was waiting at the airport for you because you'd left it there last time under the 1-month parking agreement. And then I hit HEB, got to my place, went down and swam in the ocean, fell asleep on the beach, woke up, looked at the sun setting, and thought, for the first time ever in the 5 years that I've owned it and the 100 times I'd been there, I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy the sunset at Laguna Bob's, my favorite little place on the
Yeah.
Bayside, where you can watch the sun go down over
Yes.
the Causeway Bridge.
We love it.
I love that place. And so as I'm walking up, I see Corey Phillips is playing, and I was like, oh my God, Corey Phillips. So I head on up the ramp, and that's when I first see the three, Agata, her best friend Sophie, and a gal they had met during their trip there named Tammy. She was quite a bit older than the two of them were. And I thought, oh, great, look, cute girls and the sunset and a Blue Moon beer. And I know the guys there. So they were like, hey, Steve, we'll get you a Blue Moon. And I'm sitting along the rail and I'm listening to Corey's music and I'm listening to Agata speak to Sophie and Tammy, and her voice is just like music. I mean, I could listen to her read the phone book and would be like, no, don't stop reading. So
because she has a Russian accent.
Okay.
Yeah,
very speaks fluent Russian.
Nice.
And it's, oh man, it is. I can't even.
I love anybody with an accent.
Right. But in particular, because this one is so rare to hear, right? I mean, you would hear French and Spanish before you would hear Russian normally in America. And you go, so it was just, I loved it. And so they get up and leave. And I was like, oh, bummer, I should have said something. That's what you get. The squeaky wheel gets oiled and you didn't squeak. So, but I'm really enjoying Corey's music. He's playing U2. He's playing Prince, singing. He just has this great range. And I believe he was either on The Voice or American Idol, if I'm not mistaken. He's just a wonderful performer. So anyway, I go over and I put a 20 in his bucket. And he's like, thanks, man. And we start chatting. And he's on a break in between sets. So I said, can I buy you a beer? And he said, actually, my beers are free. Why don't I buy you a beer? And we go have a beer at the bar and we're chatting each other up. And he's like, well, I got one more set to go. You going to hang out? And I was like, yep. And he's like, right on. Well, we can hang out after when I'm done. So he goes back and plays his last set. Amazing. So many people there. Everybody appreciates his music. And when he's done, we go up and have a beer and a shot and then another beer, and we're sitting there just talking the night away. And he's like, oh, the other band's here. I've got to pack up my stuff. And I was like, oh, let me help you. And he's like, oh, you don't have to do that. And I was like, I insist. So we go over and we're packing up the speakers and the microphone stands and all that stuff. And I said, you need help out to your car? And he goes, nope. As a matter of fact, here come my roadies right now. And I look down the ramp and here comes the cute blonde-haired girl, Sophie, and her best friend, Agata, the brunette Russian beauty.
So they come walking up like Charlie's Angels.
And I said, you're shitting me, as they're walking towards us. And he goes,
you're shitting me.
He goes, no, why? And I said, man, I could not stop staring at the brunette. And he goes, well, that's a good thing. The blonde-haired one's my wife. And I was like, oh, you're kidding. So we we both laugh. And he's like, here, let me introduce you to her. So he introduces me to my Agata. And in about 15 minutes of talking to each other, I mean, we're staring deeply into each other's eyes, and her smile and the twinkle in her eye is just so captivating. And she tells me I'm leaving on the 6 a.m. flight in the morning, and it's after midnight now. And it is, so I said to her, well, can we exchange numbers? And I at least am able to stay in touch with you that way. And she was like, sure. And so as she tells it, I didn't think that you'd text me. And even when you did, I didn't think it would go anywhere. You lived in Texas. I lived in California. But when you texted me and checked on me on my way home or early the next morning, knowing that you had had a late night, that meant a little something to me. And then you checked on me to make sure I got home. That meant a little something more to me. But Steve, when you said, I'd like to come and see you, and I said, well, my holiday calendar's blacked out because we're already in November. And she said, so, maybe after the new year. And you said, I don't think it can wait. And I said to you, well, there's only the one weekend. And you said you're going to Atlanta to the UT Georgia football game and then the Carolina Atlanta NFL game. With Adrian and Matt and Hart and all of his friends there in Georgia. I said, I am, but what if I it's a crazy thought, but what if I came back from that trip? We get back on Monday morning and I could have my best friend take me from the South Terminal in Austin to the main terminal. And I'll board another flight and come see you in San Diego. And she was like, you would do that? And I said, yeah. And she's like, well, I love your crazy plan. Okay, but you know, you can't stay with me. There's no staying together. And I was like, I know. I said, I'm a Hyatt Club member. So the gas lamp district in San Diego sound okay? And she was like, that would be amazing. It's like 18 minutes from my house. And so I said, okay. So I've booked a reservation at the Hotel Andaz, which is a Hyatt boutique hotel. And she was like, I love that place. You know, and you know me, oh, stayed there a couple times, huh? And she was like, no, I love the rooftop bar with my girlfriends and da-da-da. And I was like, man, I love that. And so she picked me up at the airport, and it was one of those hugs that had a future in it right away. I mean, right away, we would both tell you the same exact things separate of one another. And that is, we knew right away. We knew right away. And we sat on that couch in my suite at the Hyatt and talked the night away, and had a magical 4 days together. And when it came time to leave, we went down to her car and she said, well, and I was like, well, how do we want to leave it? And basically the conversation was, what are the options? And I said, we could just go back to our own lives. And this was really fun. And she was like, I don't like that one. And I was like, well, how about we could go back to our own lives, but still stay in touch with each other and still try to continue to make this work from a long distance dating standpoint. And she was like, any others? And I said, yeah, we could commit to being in a relationship with each other right now. And I'll tell you, I loved our time together and that I love you. And she was like, stared at me for a minute and didn't say anything. And I thought, well, this will be the make it or break it point, but what have you got to lose? Right. I mean, I really did feel that strongly about our time together. And she said, I like the last one and I love you too. And she got in her car and drove away. And I must have stared, standing out in the middle of the street for at least a full minute, which you know how long that is when you stand out in the middle of traffic.
That's a long time.
And, but man, I was just head over heels for her. And so I scheduled another time to come in. And the next time I said, the hotel is booked. Any other suggestions? That's the only place I know in downtown San Diego. And she said, sure, my place. And so we had taken this quantum leap forward in just one visit. And then she came and stayed with me. And I'm happy to tell you and all of the listeners that if we don't end up married, man, something went dramatically wrong, because she is a perfect overlay for my life. And when you say you found your person, you have no idea the mouthful that you've said right there. I really have found my person. She's my peace.
That's so amazing. I love that so much. I love that you find love at any stage of your life, at any age of your life, at any time, and see how it came to you when you least expect it. You're not even looking for it. It'll hunt you down. When it's meant to be, it'll find you.
That is exactly. Well, my mother called it the butterfly theory. Stephen,
Yes,
when you were
I
a
know
little
about
boy, yep, and you'd run trying to catch those butterflies across the street on the Sheehan property, what would happen? Oh man, I'd get all tuckered out and I'd sit down all sweaty and, you know, my little butterfly net and my empty jar. And she'd be like, right, then what would happen? And I'd say, well, then it was really frustrating, Mom. They'd come land right on me. And she'd say, exactly. That's what love is. If you try and chase it, it'll always just be out of your grasp. But if you'll just sit still, it will come and find you and land on you when you least expect it. And I always loved that story.
Yeah. I believe in fate. I believe what is meant for you will find you and you will have it.
Even in some
and
little
also
corner.
what is not meant for you will be shown too. So you always have to kind of be aware of what is and what isn't meant for you. And it does seem like that it was kind of meant to be. And I just can tell by your happiness and your just change in you in the last couple of months has been amazing. And of course, everybody wants to see. I would love to have her to come and chat with us. Maybe when she comes to Austin at some point, we'll get a little a powwow together with her and see get her take on how things are with you and what she thought about you. And
that would be totally amazing. I'm sure she would be down for that. She'll be back in March. February is her birthday month, and it's a short month. And but we talked about it the other day, and she'll be back in March. I'm sure that she would love to do that. I would love to hear her on a podcast that I wasn't a part of. I would love to hear what the things that she would have to say. But we share a lot with each other. There are not a lot of thoughts that escape our conversation. When you do the long distance thing, a lot of our conversations are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights when she doesn't have her son. And we'll talk for 3 and 4 hours on the phone. And my sister said the other day, what do you guys talk about for 3 or 4 hours when you talk a couple nights in a row each week? And I said, the thing that I love about her, Pam, is we never run out of things to talk about, interesting, exciting, learning, etc., things to talk about. As a matter of fact, that's how I know. That's how I know that she's the one for me, is I can see we're never going to run out of interesting, fun, exciting things in life. And I have to tell you, when I come home from San Diego, from visiting her, I have a hard time sleeping the first night or two because I love being there in the dark with her, in bed, lights out. Usually in that scenario, she's already asleep, but I have a hard time sleeping when I'm there with her because I don't want the time to end. And so I love the way I always tell her, you could blindfold me and you could walk 1,000 women in front of me and I would be able to pick you out just by the way that you smell. I would know that it was you. And I'm just so taken by her. And Kim, for me to tell you what a beauty she is on the outside, I've learned my lesson there. What I can tell you is she is a 12 on the inside. She's a super mom and very reminiscent of my mother. And what do they always say? A boy's first love is
someone like his mother. Well, his mother.
His mother,
so
exactly.
I know I tell Egon that all the time, that he married me because I'm just like his mom.
You are certainly a mom in that. Get your chores done, Egon.
Egon.
Well, I watch the way she cares about her son. I love the way she loves me. And I watch the way she genuinely cares about other people. And I'll make this brief by just simply saying, even people that have not earned the right to have her care about them. As a matter of fact, some of those people have done exactly the opposite, and still she just has a heart as big as Texas, just a heart of solid gold. And it's so attractive to me because, as I mentioned earlier, I felt obligated to marry this type of woman in the first go round, thinking so shallowly as, well, look, she's tall and man, we'll have these athletic kids, Olympians and NFL players and WNBA player and all that stuff. And you go, how shallow? And you go, but today you've learned how fortunate you are that not only is she gorgeous, she is a 12 on the inside. I mean, she is just, for me, she makes me a better man. She makes me a better person. And I told her I've never said those words to another human being ever. I've never felt them, so I've never said them. And she makes me a better person. She doesn't drink. That's the person I really want to be. Yeah. When I stopped drinking for those 374 days, she laughed when I said Heineken Zero. And she's like, I said, can I get you something to drink? And she was like, yes, a Heineken Zero. I don't drink. And I was like, I totally love that. And so that was night number one that we had met. And as we have gone on, I continue to see and point out to her that, see, you being that way, you caring about that individual or those individuals that you have no real reason to care about, but you do. I can see it. It's written all over you and it's in your words. I can feel it. That inspires me and it makes me a better, it makes me want to be a better human being, and there are things that she does that it makes me want to be a better man. And the way she cares about me makes me want to care about her even more and love on her even harder. And the harder I do, the harder she loves on me back. And
That's
it's
right.
like,
That
oh my
and that's the way
God.
it should be in a relationship.
I agree.
And if someone brings that to you without, I mean, she's just being her and she brings that to you, that's like, what a gift. What a gift.
It really is. She is I told her at Christmas, you're my Christmas gift. I told her for Valentine's Day, because she'll be in Mexico with some of her coworkers and friends um, on a trip that was planned before her and I had ever even met. And you go, I told her, you're my Valentine's Day gift. You are every day to me with you is Valentine's Day. I love it that my mornings start with her. No offense to my own children, but she is the first thing that I think of when I wake up. She's the last thought that goes through my head when I go to sleep at night. I dream vivid dreams about her. And so what do they say? You dream about the one you're going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
or spend your life with, maybe. Yeah, for sure.
That's
for sure. That's amazing. And I'm sure that she feels exactly the same way, because that, I'm getting that feeling from you that she's all in too. And I love that for y'all.
I love it. I love that we've had the both feet in the circle conversation.
That 100%. I could not be happier for you and for her, and anybody who can find love is very, very lucky, and find a person that you can enjoy each day with and do things with. And you guys have that. That's so great.
I can't wait. I have to tell you, I can't wait until it is not start my day with her with texts or pictures or even little voice messages. I can't wait until it's wake up with her,
living life.
Oh, absolutely. Go to sleep with her.
So what's on your agenda? I know that you've got family coming in, because this is a special week for you, because this is the
10th year anniversary on Saturday, February 7th, of my mom passing away. So my brother Les is flying in, and my sister and I spend every February 7th together since she passed. So we'll take flowers down to, I'm going to take them down to the Round Rock, which my little hometown that I live in now is named after, which sits in the middle of Brushy Creek, and there's a waterfall there. And so I've got a big package of rose petals, and we'll buy some flowers, and we'll wait till sunset, and we'll all head down there. And, each year we say some special words, and we have like a little moment of silence, and then we'll dump the rose petals in the creek and let them float on down, and we'll throw the flowers in, and we take a little tube of her ashes every year, a little vial, and we dump those into a beautiful little place. We've done that in Belize and out in front of Mama's Fish House in Maui, and places like that, places that we know either she loved or would love. And then, of course, it's the Super Bowl on Sunday. So
So what are you guys going to do? Did Egon invite you guys to go over to the
Lexius? He did. And my sister and brother were like...
They want to go to that. What is that bar y'all hang out at?
No, the Bon Air. And that's a Steeler bar, so that'll probably be a ghost town, I would guess, since the Steelers are long eliminated. You had to bring that up. And then... what Pam and Les have decided is, no, instead of going to a party and being around a lot of people, we want to be there to visit with each other.
Right.
And so we're either going to watch it at my house or at Pam's house, or depending on what Egon's plans ultimately end up being, maybe even the lake house.
Right.
And so, but they want to keep it small. And that's always been my brother. My brother has always said, during our times together, if you wouldn't mind, maybe don't invite a bunch of friends and stuff around, because I want to see my brother. I want to spend time and visit with my brother, and your attention gets divided away so easily that large groups of people, I sometimes leave feeling like I didn't really get the time with you that I wanted. So from the time that I pick him up till the time that I drop him off, because I'm headed to San Diego on Monday to go spend time with my girl before she heads off to Mexico, it'll just be brother's time. And my sister texted me this morning. Pam said, hey, I want to make sure that we're slumber partying it while they're there at your house. I'm coming to stay too. I'm packing a bag and I'm coming and staying at your house too. And it's like,
Oh, that'll be nice.
oh, I love it.
I love
it.
hanging out. I love Pam. I love your family. I don't know Les very well. I've met him a couple times, but I love Pam. I love your family. I love the love that you guys have for each other. You're a very close family, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful to kind of be a part of it on the outside, and so that sounds like so much fun. Yeah, I wish we could hang out. Maybe I don't know for sure. We are supposed to go over to Britt and Kathy's, and actually they have this shop, like a metal shop, and it's all like done up like a man cave sort of. It's got all these big TVs on the walls, and so I don't know. We'll see. We also I was talked to Cass and Dave, and so they'll probably want to come over too and watch the game or something. But these are Egon's Patriots.
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the last time that I was with Egon's Patriots was Adrian thinking the Falcons had the Super Bowl won when it was 28-3 at halftime. Everybody was rooting for the Falcons at that party at the lake house, except for Egon. And in the second half, watching Egon like a little kid, all happy but afraid to say anything because everybody else was a Falcon fan and nobody could believe what was happening in the second half. And your husband steals another Super Bowl.
There it is. There's the Patriots again winning. So after we're done, I'm actually going to drive out to Dick's Sporting Goods and get some Patriots T-shirts for us to wear. So,
very
I don't think
good.
we have any. And since it is his team, I figure, we might as well just go all out.
Well, I know he's got the Cowboys jersey, but I don't think he has a Patriots one. And I told him that, hey, man, if you're NFC Cowboys who have not been to a Super Bowl, I think since maybe I was in grade school. I don't know. I love to tease him about that. But boy, the Patriots have sure more than made up for that with their 6 Super Bowls and
I know.
all of that. It's he's picked 2 good ones. As much as I dislike the Cowboys, or despise might be the right word, I sure admire everything that the Patriots have done. I'm a Steeler fan, so of course you can't be a Steeler fan and a Patriot fan, but that doesn't mean you can't admire it. I grew up in the Bay Area, and same thing with the 49ers. Is man, I wasn't a 49er fan, but it was hard not to admire the Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Steve Young teams.
I know. And I tend to like a team too. If I really love someone and it's their team, then I like them too. But I guess that's why I kind of sort of, the thing about the Patriots, I'm just going to say this. Okay. I don't like their emblem guy. That little soldier dude, that little patriot guy. I mean, I was looking at their apparel and I was like, this stuff is so ugly and I don't like that. They need to.
Well, what would you have? What would you have as the emblem for a patriot? It's hard because, outside of the American flag,
I know.
It's pretty hard to quantify what is a patriot.
I get it. I'm surprised that Trump hasn't called it Trumps now.
The New England
Trumps. Put his own name on the team or something. Good Lord.
Well, he's actually the one that is saying that the Commanders need to change their name back to the Redskins. And what he quotes is absolutely true about, did you know the Redskins went to the tribes, the 5 main tribes of in America, Indian tribes, and went to their leaders, to the heads of those tribes, and got their permission to call them the Redskins. Did you know that the logo of the Indian with the feather on the Washington Redskins helmet, did you know that was designed by one of those leaders of one of the tribes, designed the logo and approved it, and that actually all of the tribes were against the name changing away from Redskins to Commanders, because if you remember, that all happened during the whole cancellation culture uprising of we're going to take down statues and we're going to take down this and we're going to take down that because it offends people. Well, guess what? Everything offends people. My old high school changed their name from the San Lorenzo High Rebels, which we were so proud of and loved, to the San Lorenzo Grizzlies. And I sent a letter saying, Hey, my cousin was killed by a grizzly bear. I'm offended. Da-da-da-da. And although that's not true about the cousin and the bear, you go, the letter was true. And it was, if you change this name, I will never, ever give a single penny or come and participate in anything scholastically for my alma mater ever again. And I used to love going back there and speaking and doing all kinds of things. And but I, true to my word, nope.
No.
Never again. You change that name and you are messing with history, and those who forget are destined to be reminded.
That's right.
And you go, you get rid of history, you go around erasing things, and it's no wonder our country can't remember who it was. You know, we used to be the pitcher, we used to be proactive. Now we're the catcher. Now we wait for something to happen, and there's no better example of that than 9/11. Let's wait until it happens, then we'll institute all of this stuff. And by the way, circling back around on that, 9/11 happens and we have TSA the next week.
Yeah.
And you go, so one event, couple thousand people dead as a result of it. And you go, now let's talk about autism. What was the autistic rate when Jake was born? When your son was born, Kim, what was the autistic rate?
I think it was like 1 in 10,000.
It was staggeringly remote. And now what is it today?
It's like 1 in 30.
1 in 31.
1 in 30.
And you go, so watch this. How could 9/11 have happened? In the next week, we had TSA, because thousands of people were affected. And now you have millions of people affected by autism, the afflicted and their families, and nothing changes. Not one single thing changes. As a matter of fact, how about that couple in Australia that killed their kids the other day because their services were cut off? They felt they had nowhere else to turn. They had made every cry for help that they could. And the housekeeper goes to the front door and the note says, "Do not come in, call the police." Police come and they've killed their children and themselves. And you go, what a sad world that we live in, where it's more important to build another stealth bomber to spend all this money, all the money that gets frittered away by our government and our officials, and nothing changes for us or our children. There's no help on the horizon.
I know.
They could take these abandoned buildings and rehab them, and they could have centers like Daymark in every city in America. They just simply don't do it because why? The pharmaceutical companies can't figure out how to capitalize on it. They can't figure out, look at what they've done with Ozempic. And you go, man, here, America's grossly overweight. Let's capitalize on that. And you go, but they can't figure out how to do it with autism, so autism remains untouched. It's its own pandemic.
I know.
And you go, and nothing gets done. A blind eye gets turned to it by just about every single person. We did that march on the Capitol, and I listened to all the parents speak to the politicians. And when it was my turn to speak, my turn was quite different. My turn was, you people need to be hit over the head with a baseball bat. And I mean that figuratively. I'm not threatening you. I don't mean that literally.
Yes.
I'm saying that you people need to be hit over the head with a baseball bat, because you sit here. I've listened to you for 2 hours sit here and tell the parents, oh, yeah, we know. Oh, yeah, it is a problem. And I'm sitting here as I've almost grinded my teeth into sand. And I think to myself, what is the matter with you people? How do we not leave this room and do something today? Start today. And nothing gets done. And it's really, really sad to me. And it really shakes me to my core because I am fortunate. You and Egon are fortunate. We have means. So many people don't have those means, and those people are drowning. And you look at what happened there in Australia, and I'm afraid, terrified actually, that that's going to become more of a norm.
Yeah, and I think it happens. It happens. It's not the first time I've heard of, a mom that literally got to the end of her rope with her special needs child and killed the child and killed herself. And that's the first time I've heard of a whole family like that.
Me too.
I've heard it, and I'm just going to say that in the darkest and darkest of times, when I was with Jake here and Egon was working those ungodly hours, and I was just by myself with him, and how scared I was and how there was no help anywhere. And I'm like, month after month of this, you start realizing, I don't think I want to continue living like this. This is awful, because you're watching your child suffer, and your day consists of getting up every day and watching your child suffer, and then going out and fighting people to help you, schools, doctors, insurance companies, people, society.
It wears you out.
It totally wipes you out. It takes everything out of you to where you're doing good just to exist. And I can totally relate to them getting to the point where they just didn't have any other alternative.
I said to Agata that during that time, during those 11 months from the August 10th date that Logan and Shelby's mother abandoned them, through the time Logan moved into Daymark, that was about an 11-month period. And during that 11 months, I didn't go out with a single person. And she was like, well, yeah, you had your hands full and stuff. And it was like, oh, it wasn't just that. I wasn't going to drag anybody into that world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw what it was doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, man, I'm sorry. In this case, misery doesn't want company.
Right.
I do not want anybody else disturbed to the level that I was disturbed at. I don't want anybody sad to the level I was sad at. And it was just easiest to focus all my attention on him, because like you said, from the time he wakes up till the time he goes to sleep, it's 100% of your attention.
Oh yeah, it's 100. And yeah, and no one can really do that on a long-term basis, even doing it the way you did it for 13 months.
You were the one that told me that.
It nearly killed you. So yeah, I'm happy that they are starting to do some things. So hopefully more and more and more will get done with finding services and creating things for our, they're not kids anymore, they're grown-ups, but for our boys, our men, and all the other ones, and the hundreds, the 1 in 30, 1 in 12 in California. 1 in 12.
It's staggering. Google search the Somali children.
And it's mostly men. Think about it. It's mostly boys, even though there are some girls, but it's mostly boys. And so think about this. Think about if the majority of boys being born are being born with this brain developmental issue. I mean, they all can't be engineers. They all can't be Elon Musk, Steve.
I read a thing the other day that said, is the Tylenol thing BS? Because it said, why do you think that it's boys that are predominantly affected by autism? And I thought, man, I don't know. And as I read on down the article, it said, well, think about it. When the boys are circumcised, they give them Tylenol in the hospital. And it was like, and it was saying girls don't get it. And I thought to myself, wow, that's amazingly coincidental that it would be that way. And of course, that's kind of died down now, the whole Tylenol thing. And I love how they immediately come out and say, well, we've done the studies. And you go, you've done the studies in less than a year since that information came out? Yeah. What studies? Can I read those? Where are those printed? Where can I look those up? Mm-hmm. But I do find that incredibly coincidental that, and I thought that's the best explanation I've heard to date for why is it so unbalanced. It's like 85%, 15%. 85% of autistic children are boys.
I know.
And so it's very rare.
So it either has to be related to genetics, male genetics, or something they're doing specifically for boys, which would be giving them a big old fat dose of Tylenol when they're 1 day old, because they circumcise them basically when they're 1 day old.
That's right.
And yeah, I wonder if they've ever really looked at that study of how many uncircumcised versus circumcised kids have autism.
That'd be very interesting. And you go, see, that's information that I would think would be readily accessible to the American public, but it's like trying to look up COVID stuff.
Oh, I know.
There is so much stuff
you
will
and I
never
know
see.
the dark hole.
That's
of
right.
Finding out stuff and knowing where to look and what to read and how to get our information. So we know that we've luckily, thank goodness, we've had to with autism for sure. But I feel like we could talk about this all day. I feel like we could do a whole another podcast just on that subject.
That's right.
Of all of that stuff. But unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time. So I'm going to just let it end here. But I would like to invite you and Agatha to come back. And when she's here in town at some point, we'll have her come over and we'll have a little chat with y'all. So
I would love to
introduce
do that.
her. And I can't wait to meet her. I'm excited. I missed her last time she came into town, but
I have to tell you this. She is such a beautiful soul. I would love for the world to meet Agatha. If more people on the planet were like Agatha, we would be in such a better place.
Oh.
The human race would be in such a better place. The planet would be in such a better place. She is love, and it is so fantastic. I feel so blessed and grateful to call her my own and for her to call me her own, and that we are each other's people. I would love to have her. We accept that invitation right
good.
now.
Well, we'll have to set that up. And I'm just excited. And it sounds like there'll be some wedding bills coming before too long. Who knows? Who knows?
If we are not married by the end of 2027, something again went dramatically wrong along the way. I absolutely can see that because where I had said at the outset of your show that there was no marriage on my radar at any point going forward. Agatha has never been married. And so for me, I would love for her to have that experience. And when I think of people that I would love to call my wife, it's not people. There's only one person. Absolutely. And I can't wait for that day to get here.
Oh, well, congratulations. I'm so happy. And I look forward to what comes next for y'all. And thank you so much, Steve, for coming over and being so open and honest and, just kind of giving us the thumbnail about, love and life and how things can go from the depths of the worst to, the best time of your life. So here's to the best times of our life.
Here's to the best times of our life. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you.